Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Raghavendra Bhatt, and I'm really happy that my teacher, Professor Hariharan from Michigan, and my friend Aadityan from Chennai Math Institute are joining me today for a very informal and fun discussion that we'll be having on a hypothetical scenario in cricket. So, all the three of us are big fans of cricket for a long time. And what we will try and do today is imagine that there is a situation where we have to pick a team to represent planet Earth to play in an interstellar solar system cricket game. It's a test match, and we are given the last 30 years of test cricket, that is from 1990 to 2020, and we can choose anybody who has played in that era for any country, and there is no restriction on how many players we should pick from which team, and we can decide the team composition, and we can decide the captain and anything. And once we decide who will play, that player will be given the power to play at his peak. So, for example, if we pick Sachin Tendulkar, we will not get the Sachin Tendulkar who is 47 years old today, but we will get the Tendulkar of the 90s or the Tendulkar of the 2010 or whatever. So, we pick a player based on pedigree and what he has done in his entire career, and assume that when he plays for our team, he will be at his best. I will share my screen, and what I have done to make things a little simple for us is I've put three names in this team who I felt none of us would argue about. But before I go forward, I just want to take opinions from the other two people here to see if they will argue with any of these. So four, I've gotten Sachin Tendulkar batting at 4, Wasim Akram as my fast bowler at 8, and I've got Shane Warne at 9. So if any of you feel that these three are not automatic selections, I can remove them from the team. But if you're okay with it, we can stick with it.
No, wait. Very funny comment. I'm not very certain of Tendulkar at 4.
Okay.
And it sounds very funny, but the thing is, you look at Callis, right?
Yes.
He actually averages better than Tendulkar at 4.
Yes.
And Steve Smith says, okay, like you guys are small children, like I average 74 at 4.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So maybe
So
we need to discuss on that.
So you feel Tendulkar might not make this team at all, or do you think he might not make it at 4? So should I remove his name? What does Hariharan sir feel about this?
So I think yes, Callis or Steve Smith will fit into the team, maybe, but I will not put them at number 4. I think number 4 is Sachin Tendulkar all the way. So
Okay. So Adityan, do you feel Tendulkar might not make it to the team at all based on our discussion? Is there a possibility, outside chance, that there might be 4 other people at 3, 4, 5, 6, and none of them might be him?
No, meaning for 5, 6, yeah, but you look at 3 and 4, there are tons of players. There is Sangakkara, there's
Okay.
Ponting, there
Okay.
is.
Okay. Shall I remove him from 4, or do I keep him there and we can adjust his position when the other players come in?
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
Okay. And the bowling, are you guys okay with the 2 bowlers that I've
So
got?
wait, are we looking at 2 spinners or just 1 spinner?
That's a discussion for we can decide that based on the composition. But do you feel that these 2 guys would be in the team or no?
Yeah, I
I
mean, if sorry.
I'm not sure about Akram, but I'm sure about
Okay.
Shane Warne.
Okay. Adityan, do you wish to keep Akram, or shall I remove him at this point?
Uh, yeah, maybe we can look at fast bowlers because there are tons of fast bowlers too,
Okay.
and maybe one name which is missing is probably Murali. I don't know.
So you feel Murli should be an automatic place in this team? That is, if we are having 2 spinners, or do you feel in the place of one?
Yeah, meaning my first choice spinner would have been Murali.
Yeah, for me also it would have been Murli.
Okay. So do I remove Warren's name and put Murli as my automatic pick, or do I keep both of them?
I think
Maybe
we'll
we can,
keep both
yeah,
of them.
and maybe we can look to adjust if you're
Okay.
happy with 3
So
paces.
I will start off with these 3 names: the leading run scorer and the leading 2 leading wicket takers in Test cricket. So maybe we can keep these 3 people here, and we can change their batting position maybe for Sachin, and maybe we can remove one of Warren and Murli if we feel that we need 3 fast bowlers or whatever. So what I've done is, for each batting position, I've given 3 times the more number of people as my sample set. So, for example, if we can start discussing from the top, or we can start discussing from the bottom. If we decide to go from the top, opening, we have 2 slots. I have 6 names. So I've come up with 6 names who I felt we might pick 2 out of those 6. But again, this is just a way to get started. If you feel there is somebody else who is not in my 6, who is a potential candidate for the opening slot, please let me know. So is it okay if we start from the top so that we know the
Mm-hmm.
batting order? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with the opening. These are the 6 names that I've put forward. Alistair Cook, batting average 45, highest run scorer in terms of for openers, except for Sunil Gavaskar. No, I think more than Sunil Gavaskar as well. Matthew Hayden, only opener in this list who averages above 50. Sehwag, Graham Smith, David Warner, who is a recent phenomenon, and Justin Langer. The one name who I just missed out on was Chris Gale, but I for some reason I felt these 6 are better than him. Is there any other name that both of you have in mind uh, to put in the shortlist?
No, at least not to
No.
my mind.
Okay, so you're happy with these 6. Okay, so let's start with Adityan. What are your first thoughts when you look at these 6 names?
Meaning, I am a serious fan of Alastair Cook. I just loved the way he batted. So
Okay,
So
there is that.
my two choices were Alistair Cook and Virender Sehwag.
okay. My 2 would be Alistair Cook and Matthew Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
And Adityan, who would be?
No, I don't know. Like I just can't differentiate between Hayden, Smith, and Langer.
Okay, so do we
Meaning,
put
all three were
Alistair Cook
amazing.
as
So.
the one guy because the 3 of us all agree with him being there?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I think his average might be lower than a few, but he has batted in England, where the overall average of players is at least 10 lower than countries like India and Australia. It's the most difficult place to open the batting. So maybe we can, and also he has a great average in India as well as in Australia in 2010-11 that series, and also I think in India, what was it in 2012? He hit those 3 centuries.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Do we put him as the one opener? I don't think we will argue too much about him. Maybe it's the
Mm-hmm.
second opener that we are more worried about. Okay. Uh, so how do we go about? So sir, let's say like sir is having Sehwag as his choice. I'm having Hayden as my choice, but I'm okay with Sehwag as well. I think there's not too much of a difference. The only reason I went with Hayden is because of the overseas average of Sehwag, which is 30ish in South
Mm-hmm.
Africa, and in New Zealand he's having below 35 average.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So the reason why I thought of Sehwag was the impact that he has at the top. So for me, it's not just about the average. I mean, if you purely look at the stats, he still has excellent stats, but I agree that he's not a very impactful player when it comes to overseas opening. But what he does at the top is something remarkable in terms of the effect that it has on the psyche of the opponents. And in one uh, session, he can take the game away from the opposition. So I think, given that the other players are going to be solid players, I'm okay with taking a gamble in some sense with Virender Sehwag. And mind you, it's not a gamble purely based on the impact. It also is a gamble with his consistency, which is also visible in the scores. Of course, if you look at Virender Sehwag towards the fag end of his career, then yes, you will question whether he should be a part of this team. But at the peak, like 2004, 2005, he was a devastating player. So that's where I'm slightly tilted, and the right hand left hand combination.
yes,
So if
yes.
you see, all others are left hand players. So for me, that right hand left hand combination also, you know, is gives him a slight edge.
And meaning he's handy with the ball too.
Yes.
Mm, yeah.
He also played well against South Africa, but that was in India. He hit that 294, and at that time Steyn was bowling really well, even in India. So, although this overseas India is a false thing that has been created, I think overall there is not too much of difference. Maybe just a coincidence that towards the end of his career he played a few games outside and his average was destroyed. Maybe he's
Mm,
not bad a player. Even in Australia, he's played a couple of very good knocks. So, but Hayden again, it's a very impactful player, destructive, has a strike rate of I think 60, 70s in Test. But he's popularly known as a minnow basher because his 380 came against Zimbabwe, and he would.
mm.
Any thoughts about Graham Smith, who is terribly underrated? I feel overall in his career.
No, meaning that's true. In some sense, if Graeme Smith had been absent, I think Amla would be opening. And if you're keeping Amla out of a certain position,
Hmm.
I mean, you are doing something right.
Oh, so you want Hashim Amla as one of the contenders as openers? That's
No,
possible
he
as
didn't
well.
open. He didn't open.
Yeah.
He batted at one drop predominantly. But
Because Dravid is
I think
also a potential candidate. He opened quite a few times, but I think when we pick a full team, we have to see where they did best in their career. We cannot put them at some random position. It's like making um, Virat Kohli open for India just because he did it for RCB. That doesn't make sense. So, hey, Warner and Langer don't make the final discussion.
I mean, for example, Langer was a fantastic player. There's no doubt. But was he a match winner? I'm not 100% sure whether he could change the course of the game on his own.
I think Hayden was a bigger match winner than Langer. So if we are picking only one more player here, we know that it has to be at least one of Hayden and Langer. So maybe even Warner, it's too early to put him in the same league as Sehwag and Hayden and Smith. So maybe I think it's between the three of these. As of now, it feels like it is Sehwag. Do we go with Sehwag? Adityan, what do you feel?
yep.
Yeah, I feel it's really an entertaining prospect of having a 80 strike rate and a 45 strike rate opening the batting.
Yeah, I think they kind of complement each other nicely.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, there's not
I
too
meaning
much.
like the reason which I can give to Graeme Smith is that he's a strong leader. But meaning given that we are picking a strong squad across years, like we would be finding much more leaders then.
Yes. And there is a probable, guy called. There's a probability of having a guy called Ricky Ponting in the team who's next up in the discussion.
Hmm.
Who's probably a better leader. So okay, maybe we are okay with the opening as of now. We can still change it later if we feel that the team composition is whatever. But as of now, Cook and Sehwag to open looks really good. And we have to pick three batsmen to bat in the middle order. I just have a spoiler alert here. Jack Callis makes my shortlist even for the all-rounder slot. So I have decided informally that we'll have five batsmen, all-rounder at 6, a wicket-keeper at 7, and 4 bowlers. But we can change that based on who we bat at 3, 4, 5. So in case Callis doesn't make it to the middle order now, he can still make it to the team as an all-rounder and bat at 6. So it's not that a player makes it only to one place. Same with Sangakkara and De Villiers. They are also in my shortlist for the wicket keeping. So they can make it into the team even as a keeper or a batsman. Okay, so yes, go. Anyone. What are the first thoughts?
This is the most difficult part, I think.
Yes.
Selecting the middle order.
Any of these players, I think, can make the cut based on some statistic. For example, AB de Villiers, who might be the weakest of these, I have a stat for you. He averages 62 batting at number 5, which is the highest in the history of the game. No player averages 60 odd batting at 5. And the closest, I think, to that is Steve O or maybe Alan Border, but de Villiers is head and shoulders above that. And when he's keeping the batting, his average is close to 70.
Oh wait, that's amazing.
So
I mean, you don the gloves and have that.
We have a lot of almost anybody can make the team. So what are the thoughts?
No, so first if we start eliminating, right, like Jack Callis and Brian Lara, have they batted at 5?
Yes, they have.
No, as in consistently. I thought Callis's average at 5 was not anything close to great.
So can we agree on this, that in this team, since we are picking the best team, it's okay that a number 3, number 4, and number 5 go anywhere in number 3, number 4, and number 5? Is
Yes.
that?
That's what my thought was, going with some sort of flexibility in terms of where they bat.
Because when we spoke about Dravid opening, or who was that, the other guy who Hashim Amla opening, there's a lot of difference between batting in the middle order and opening in terms of the new ball, the pressure. But batting at 4 or batting at 5, it's a matter of Callis didn't bat at 5 because there was no other candidate to bat at 4 for South Africa. And Sachin batted at 4 because he was the best batsman in the team. But either of them could go 4 or 5 if they're in the same team. That shouldn't change their game too much. If it's ODI cricket, I understand, but in Test cricket, it should not matter. Even if Steve Smith batted at 6, I'm pretty sure he would bat the same way that he batted at 4. So
maybe like we pick a specialist 3 and then 4, 5, 6 like rotate.
Sure.
Yeah, 3 is a difficult choice for me between Rahul Dravid and Ricky Ponting.
Meaning
Okay.
Sangha is amazing. Like he averages 60 at three. So
Yes.
there's that too.
Yes. I'm
And Steve,
thinking Sangakkara in terms of wicket keepers. I think there is too much crowd at the at number three. That's where
Uh-huh.
I am inclined to think of Sangakkara in the wicket keeper category.
Steve Smith can also
Uh,
bat at three. That's also possible. There's no we can just look at his overall average and say that he'll average the same thing even if he batted at three. He's batting at four
right.
because of Labuschagne in the team and whatever, but he can bat at three as well. So Ponting,
Uh,
okay, let's take it. So do we pick between Ponting and Dravid? Who would we choose between Ponting and Dravid?
I don't know. I would like flip a coin. Like if it falls heads, I'll go Dravid, tails with Ponting. Nothing to differentiate between
Uh,
these two.
I would personally go with Ponting, and my justification for that is the fact that he's a more attacking batsman, he's more impactful player, and also a
Hmm.
leader. Dravid is a terrific guy if you want to save a game, but I felt that in this team we have enough number of players at 4, 5, 6, and even maybe 7 who can do that sort of job. But Ponting would take over from Sehwag at three, averages almost the same average as Dravid, and has a very good record in Australia, in England. The only place he doesn't average good is when Harbhajan Singh was bowling in India. But as long as there's no off spinner in our opposition, I felt my personal pick would be Ponting, but it's very very slight. If you ask me tomorrow, I would probably go with Dravid. So that's my take. Adityan, who would you choose between the two?
I don't know. Like even if if you're judging by X factor, like our four, probably it is Tendulkar, or even if you do something like really crazy and go with Smith four as an X factor.
Hmm.
Maybe we go with Callis at five or something of that sort. Maybe we just need one very solid guy who just bats, 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 and bats.
Hmm. Ponting can do that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm just going by the stats. Ponting has a strike rate of 60 and he has 41 centuries in Test cricket. And Dravid has a strike rate of 42 and he has 36 centuries in Test cricket.
Hmm.
But I don't know. It's
I don't know. And another thing which you might also have to consider is like who has played more number of tests. Meaning you can't criticize like player X to have played a lesser number of tests than Y when you're looking at a career spanning 1.5 decades.
and Ricky Ponting averaged 60 plus for the major part of his career. In the last 4 years of his career, he had a terrible slump, which took his average
Ah.
way down. But there was a
Hmm.
point of time from I think 1990s ending towards all the way up to 2008 where he was averaging 58, 59, 60 throughout that period. Um,
Hmm.
Sir, any so Sangakkara is again a possibility just as a batsman, but I feel most of his games were played against Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, and India in the subcontinent. He didn't play enough against England and Australia and South Africa. That's what his career shows.
Yeah, do we know the standard deviation of these players like Rahul Dravid and Ricky Ponting?
I don't know. Maybe I can look that up. Or what we can do is we can come back to that number three discussion later. We can just put Dravid slash Ponting as of now, and we
Hmm.
can go on with the team, and maybe we can. But is there any other player at three, or do you think it will finally be between these two? Is Sangakkara in the same league as Ricky Ponting and Rahul Dravid, or
Mm,
Meaning he is, but I think we are already having a lot of headaches. That's
okay?
yeah.
Let's simplify. Okay, let's just say Dravid slash Ponting. We can come back to Sangakkara later, and
uh,
it's interesting that we are going with the Hayden slash Sehwag, which was our discussion, and Dravid slash Ponting. It's again
Mm.
mhm.
showing the Indian Australian top order, which was extremely strong throughout this period, where we had Sehwag and Dravid and Tendulkar, and here we had Hayden and Ponting and Steve O. Okay, so
For me, so just a small point,
yes,
like
Professor.
Raghavendra, you mentioned, I my so initially I was inclined towards Dravid when I had thought about the team before we started the meeting, but now I'm slightly inclined towards Ponting because of his leadership,
Okay.
because we need a captain in the team as well. So that's the only thing. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's proceed to the
Oh,
next
and
one.
Ponting averages 54 against India. So it's not that it's a weak opposition. Maybe in that one series, he did really terribly in that famous tour in India.
2001.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
overall, he has a very good record against every team. He averages above 40 against every team that he has played against, and averages above 50 against Pakistan, New Zealand, India, and
Hmm.
also West Indies. He's a very,
Mhm.
very good player. So,
No, a terrific player. There is no question on.
Meaning,
uh,
He's
a one-liner that would support Dravid is like he has a century everywhere on earth, right? Like he has a century on my terrace too. So
a.
yeah, that's I think. So, doesn't Ricky Ponting have that in almost all countries? Doesn't he have 100 against every team?
no, like the only guy who had a test century in every place he played is Dravid.
So, Ricky Ponting, the
Maybe.
only place where he doesn't have 100 is Pakistan, and he's played only one game there. Every other place he has played,
Uh,
he's got 100.
uh-huh.
So it's I mean, if that's the differentiating factor, there's not too much.
Hmm. That's true too.
Okay,
I don't know,
so
maybe the easiest is to come back probably, but
we can
sorry.
come back to, yes, I will we'll pick the other team. Okay, so now we need a 4, 5, 6. And assuming, I mean, I know this is a very informal discussion and we have to be analytical, but I don't think we can have a team without Tendulkar. Let's just keep him at 4, because I feel
Uh-huh.
no matter what the discussion is, we'll eventually have him in the team somewhere. Might as well have him at 4. That's where he batted most of his career. Uh, his statistics are
Hmm.
not as good as Callis. I agree to that. Even probably Brian Lara is considered better than him by a few cricketing experts. But to play in a country with 1 billion fans, to do it for 20 odd years, and to have a slow start to your career and then again have a peak in 2010 11, I feel he should be there in the team. Is
No,
that
no, like my only comparison is with Steve Smith. Like you need to respect an average of 74 at the end of the day. But
Yes, I agree. I agree. Okay, so we will discuss about now 5 and 6. Steve Smith, Sangakkara, Callis can probably bat at 6 as an all-rounder. That's still a possibility. Brian Lara,
Mhm.
Steve Waugh, AB de Villiers might not make the final cut. I still feel that the other guys are a little above him. They've scored a lot more runs than him. But I just put him because he's underrated in the test format. Um,
Mhm. Meaning the sandpaper gate incident, right? I thought like that was one series where the Australians had no way to get him out, and the
yeah,
only way they got him out was a run out. So.
yeah, I saw the whole tour, and that's where my admiration for him increased a lot. He did a terrific job.
Mhm.
And that innings against Australia at Adelaide, where he played 200 odd balls to score 30 runs, and
Mhm.
against India in Delhi, where it was a rank turner, he was
Yeah.
facing Ashwin, Jadeja, and somebody else, and he batted for 400, 300 balls or something. Great, great player. But so, guys, what about Brian Lara at 5?
I think the see the point about Bran Lara, again a terrific player, but unfortunately he doesn't get the due credit in terms of. I mean, he does, but he still kind of doesn't get to the same uh, levels of averages and those kind of things because he did not have a good team when he was playing, and that makes a lot of difference. So Ricky Ponting's average, if you see, is terrific, but he also had fantastic players who played before and after him. So in the team he had Steve Waugh, he had Matthew Hayden, Justin Langer, Greg Blewett before that. Uh, Michael Clark played. So he was surrounded by players who can equally do the job if he gets out. So for him, he could play his natural game. For Brian Lara, there was Shivnarayan Chanderpaul.
That's
And
it.
if you see, that's it, right? The opening batting was not that great. So he would,
Ganga and some.
yeah. So yeah, Ganga was there. Sherwin Campbell was there. Uh, so
Gale. But,
Gale was there.
so the point was that he had to come in most of the times when the team was in trouble. That was the same case with Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah,
Before we had the quadruplet of Sehwag, Tendulkar, Dravid,
Ganguly.
Ganguly, Lakshman. I mean,
Yeah.
quadruplet in the middle order and
Yes. Yes.
Sehwag at the top. But so I believe, I don't know the exact stats,
Hmm.
but Sachin Tendulkar would have become better in terms of numbers with these players around in the team. So
Yes.
I think that's where Brian Lara couldn't get as much admiration as much he deserves because the team couldn't win games, because you cannot win games just based on one player's heroic uh, So that's the
Also, a small point: Lara averages more than Ponting overall in his career. It's almost the same
Mhm.
average, 50, 52.89. So Dravid, Lara, and Ponting have the same average of 52-ish. Yes, Adityan, you want to say something about Lara? So I just feel Brian Lara is a legend of the game. Is overall people compare him to Viv Richards, to Sachin Tendulkar, to somehow he's placed a little higher than Ponting. I don't know how, but people do that overall. But that doesn't mean we have to agree to that. But that's how it is in the cricketing community.
So
They call him the magician.
I think the one thing that goes a little against Ponting is in the initial parts of his career, he was not that big an impactful player. So if you see his career, I think he would have started somewhere around 95,
Yes,
1995. And I don't think he was a power to reckon with till 99, 2000, those kind of times. Because at that time, he used to play. So if you remember
yes,
the India Australia series, he would be batting at number five, not at number three.
yes,
He became a really dangerous player when he was shifted to number three. And
Hmm.
that's where his average doesn't look as big as it would have been if he was the same Ricky Ponting that he was after 2002, for example.
yes. So I was looking at his career in terms of years, and the first 4 years he didn't do too much. But after that, he's averaging 63, 63, 40, 70, 100, 41, 67, 88 in every year.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
had this extremely good, almost blue patch, as a purple patch between 1999 to 2007-ish. About
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Adityan, I know you
But
are.
if you look at Rahul Dravid, I
Hmm.
believe that it would be much more consistent in terms of the graph.
What
Hmm.
about Steve's? Yeah,
And probably also because Dravid like retired on the right time, and Ponting probably had a big tail at the end of his career.
Mm.
just like Tendulkar.
Hmm.
If Tendulkar retired after 175 games, he would still have 5100s and average of 57. He played
Haha.
20 games more than guys. What about Steve Smith at three? That is still a possibility. I'm not. I don't want to rule out the fact that Steve Smith will make it to the team at number three instead of either Ponting or Dravid. Has he done enough to be considered above them? Because I was looking at his statistics yesterday night. He has an average of 90 in the first innings of a test match. 90. The only person more than that is Bradman with 110. But so the first innings of a test match, you win the toss, you choose to bat. He averages 90. Tendulkar is something like 62, Ponting is 56, Lara is some 66. Steve Smith in the last 5 years averages 75 in tests, averages above 70 in Australia, averages above 55 overseas. Do
So,
we?
just a slight this thing, a critical point against Steve Smith for me is, let us look at the bowlers that the oppositions had. How many good bowlers that each opposition had? So if you think of South Africa,
Hmm.
right? Dale
Stain.
Steyn was the only like a
No, Stein
strong
was there
bowler.
and Markle was there.
And he hasn't faced them actually. He hasn't done too
Yeah,
much against them.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Think of India, probably Jasprit Bumrah,
Mhm.
but I think Jasprit Bumrah has peaked in the last 2 3 years, I would
Yeah.
say,
I
right, in
don't
the
think
test
the
matches.
India series, the last India series he played, that was in 2016 before Bumrah debuted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That team
Mm-hmm.
didn't have too many good bowlers. It was
Yeah, so that is the other part. Then think of
England.
West Indies. Then
Yeah.
think of England. England had James Anderson
Hmm.
He's the
and
only guy.
Stuart Broad, maybe.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Those are the only two players that again. Stuart Broad in 2012 was very different from Stuart Broad in 2015. I would think.
Yes. Yes.
So
Meaning, I won't differentiate on that. Like he's just picking wickets everywhere he goes. But
But he's not again in the league of the kind of players that Brandler faced, like Wasim Akram and Wakar Yunis and
mm,
Glenn McGrath, Shane Warne. And,
so
no, no. Meaning,
you are facing two good bowlers, like tremendously good bowlers uh, uh, in every team when you played at that time. So like Raghav mentioned, Brian Lara was facing Wasim Akram and Wakar Yunis. And then if you think of spinners, it would be Sakleen Mushtaq, who was at his peak at that time.
yes.
Uh, Tendulkar and Lara would have be facing the same set of bowlers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Think of Australia. Australia was what? Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie, and
Brett
then
Lee,
Brett Lee, yeah, and
Warren.
then you would have Warren coming in, and Pakistan would have Shoaib Akhtar at
Yes.
some point.
And
So
South Africa would have Donald, Pollock, both of
yeah,
them.
Antony.
Intini.
yeah, yeah.
No,
Brian
but
Lara
Then
like,
averages 50 plus against all these teams, the teams that you mentioned.
then
uh-huh.
if you think of West Indies, you would have Walsh and Ambrose in the late 90s at least.
Ridiculous,
So
yes, yes.
so I think that comparison is kind of a hard comparison when it just comes to just looking at the numbers.
Yes.
I would say, and that's where for
No,
me
no, but
Steve Smith doesn't make the
another
cut for this particular reason.
No, no, but another way to look at it is, you look at how people average when you look at, their contemporaries, right?
Hmm.
Meaning it's not like the average has shot
True,
up by 10, 15 over
true.
this.
Uh,
Meaning
that's
there is
true.
still a daylight between Steve Smith and
A
other people
lot of,
in
yes.
terms of averages.
Kohli, Root, and Williamson average in the 50s. Wherever we pick them, maybe their peak or whatever. And Smith is averaging in the 70s. Maybe Kohli is 60 at 4, but that's only a very small sample set. Steve Smith is head and shoulders above. But again, that still doesn't mean that maybe these people, Kohli, Williamson, and Root, would have done even more badly if they faced the kind of bowling that was in the 90s. Maybe they would have averaged 40 or 35. We don't know that for a fact.
No,
So,
no, like
But
my point
but
here,
I
huh,
agree,
so my point
Adityan.
here being,
That's a good
like,
point.
what can Steve Smith do at the end of the day? Like score 700 runs in an Ashes series? Wait, I just dream of it,
Mhm.
wake up, I actually put a tick mark on that.
Mhm. Yes, Adityan, I agree. That's a very good point that you can also look at their contemporaries, what they were doing. But if you think of Sachin Tendulkar and Brian Lara, they were contemporaries, and they also had, I mean, I won't put Ricky Ponting as a contemporary, but yes, he was at least after 1999. But remember, by 1999, Sachin Tendulkar was already at his peak. So
right.
comparing
Hmm.
Ricky Ponting with Sachin Tendulkar would be unfair to Ricky Ponting at that point,
Yeah.
right? So,
Hmm.
so Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid was in some sense a contemporarian to Sachin Tendulkar. So I think the gap at that time was not that big, but all these players were terrific players.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we should look at the gap again because of this reason. You had Jack Callis.
Yes.
So all these
Hmm.
were terrific players. I think it's just a hard
So
thing to do.
I'll simplify this discussion tremendously for simplicity. Let's see. Would you between Ponting and Steve Smith, who would you go with at this point of time? If you had to
Ponting.
look, you would go with
Ponting,
Ponting.
meaning I don't want Steve Smith at three.
Okay, so
He's
you
he's
would go
better
with
at four
Ponting.
and five.
Between Steve Smith and Brian Lara, who would be a better guy overall?
No, maybe I'll be biased here. Like I just love Steve Smith like
Same
crazy.
here.
But
I'm a big fan of him, but is he a better batsman than Brian Lara? Let's forget about stats. Let's forget in general. Steve Smith, Brian Lara. Who would you want in your team batting at number five?
Brian Lara for me.
Adityan, do you prefer Steve Smith over Brian Lara but below Ponting? So how does that? You can have Brian Lara at 3 and Steve Smith at 4 and Sachin at 5. Don't worry about the batting position. Just in general, who would you want in your team? Steve Smith or Ponting, and or Steve Smith or Lara? Out of these three, who would be the two players that you want?
Ponting and Smith, possibly. Yeah.
Ponting and Smith. Okay.
Mhm.
So no left-hander in the middle order, and it's okay. You prefer Steve Smith?
We Yeah, that's fine. Probably I'll take a left-handed keeper or something on the side.
Okay. Okay. So I think I would go with Ponting and Lara
Hmm.
at 3
Mhm.
and 5 with Sachin at 4. And Callis, I know he's really good, but I still feel we'll have him in the team at 6 as an all-rounder. He can bat at 6. What does Sir feel about 3 and 5? Is Ponting and Lara your choice as well? Or Steve Waugh? Steve Waugh is a fighter. We want anybody to play there with one hand and one leg. He'll do it for you. But does he make the cut
So
over?
between Steve Waugh and Rahul Dravid, I will go for Rahul Dravid.
Yes, I would go with Dravid too. Yes. But at five we would probably go between Lara and Steve Waugh. We don't want Dravid batting at 5, do we?
Yeah, but I can also make Ricky Ponting bat at 5, given that he has batted there at a lot of times in his career,
And Dravid bats
and
at 3.
Dravid bats at 3. So
So between Dravid and Lara, you would go with Dravid over Brian Lara?
that's a hard one.
I, I,
That's a
I
hard
feel
one.
Brian Lara would make the team either at 3 or at 5.
Yeah, that's a hard one
He
actually.
averaged 51 against Australia. He played 31 games against them. That 200, that 153 not out that he
Yeah,
played
Barbados. That is
Barbados
an unbelievable match. 1999, and that one match for me was, I had watched that match live, so I have very fond memories of that
is 400
Barbados
not
test.
out against England. I mean, he had that
Yeah,
batting
that.
at 3, so he can bat at 3 or 4 or 5. He can bat
Yeah,
anywhere.
he can bat anywhere. He can bat anywhere.
Do I just put him in the team? Adityan is Adityan okay with Brian Lara in the team or no?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not happy he's coming over Steve Smith, but still, yeah, he's a legend. I mean, there's no talking.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can come back to that maybe. So let's keep him here. Let's keep him here for now.
Yeah,
I'll put Lara slash Smith. And we will go
Yeah.
ahead. So maybe we have to pick 2 out of Dravid, Ponting, Lara, and Smith.
Uh-huh.
And do I
I know,
just pick
probably
one?
the easiest pick is Callis,
Okay,
simply
Callis at
because he
6,
has the
right?
yeah,
ball in hand. But
Callis at 6.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I just
Callis at
we have
6.
Callis, Stokes, and Flintoff. I know Stokes and Flintoff are
Oh,
really good, but I think Callis just is
Callis.
evidently.
No, there is no. I don't
yeah.
think there is
Yeah, so
any
we can put Jack Callis at
discussion.
6, and
Yeah,
Mhm.
it shouldn't matter too much. He can do whatever he did at 4. He can do that at 6. The team will
yeah,
look really strong because now we have 6 proper batsmen, out of which one
Mhm.
guy can bowl a lot. And now that we have Callis at 6, it's really tempting for me to go with Lara at 5 and Ponting at 3. That just makes that middle order look, Ponting, Sachin, Lara, and Callis. It gives that a good flavor. But Steve Smith, again, I saw him bat just 12 hours back, and I know he's a legend. But
no,
okay,
I think I will go for Lara over Smith. So that will be my vote.
okay, I would have that vote as well. What about Aditya? Do you just go with majority? We can put Smith
Meaning,
here. Let's put Smith here, and let's keep Lara here.
no, meaning at 3, I think what Dravid has done and what Ponting has done, they deserve credit for that. And meaning, Smith has batted 30 innings at
And
3,
I
right?
have
So,
something to make you feel better. Let's say Steve Smith's career has just not even finished or not even reached the middle. What if he has a down later, or what if he does badly in the India tour now, or what if he tapers off like just like how Ponting did towards the end of his career? We don't know. Whereas Ponting and Lara have done it for 12,000 runs over 20 years. There's a lot more sample set, so many surfaces, conditions, bowling attacks, and do we
meaning
based on
that's,
pedigree? Or,
I don't know, that's true, but meaning because Smith is 31, probably like the only mistake he did was,
the
we doing
Sanchez.
this
He
session.
lost
Yeah.
1 year of his life where he could have gotten another 300-400. Okay, we'll come back to that later. Let's go to the wicket keeper. Adam Gilchrist, Kumar Sangakkara, Mark Boucher. Now
Hmm.
we have a top 6 which has everybody averaging 50ish or 60ish. So when we pick a keeper here, when we have Warren bowling, when we probably have Akram, Murli, and all these guys bowling, we'd probably give more importance to their wicket keeping skills. We would love a batsman, but
I would also add AB de Villiers here.
okay. Instead of Boucher, maybe.
Yeah, instead of Boucher.
Okay, Boucher is probably
I
not
don't
a
know, but a very wild card, but because we want a very technically strong keeper, Vridhiman Saha.
okay.
Meaning, I forget about his batting. I just want his keeping.
Yes, is very
But
good keeper.
definitely is a good keeper, Adityan. But I think Gilchrist is a good keeper as
Gil-
well. I mean,
Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Sangakkara is a good keeper as well. So, but they win hands down in terms of their batting.
Gilchrist kept to
Ah.
leg spin of Shane Warne and Stuart McGill and Brett Lee and Glenn McGrath and Mitchell Johnson and Jason Gillespie. He's
Yeah.
done
Mhm.
everything possible as a keeper. Averaged close to 50, a strike rate of 90, batting at 7.
Mhm.
Kumar Sangakkara kept to Muthaiya Muralidharan, Chaminda Vas, Lasit Malinga. Didn't have a good average as a keeper. Now that's the only problem, guys. His average as a keeper is only 40.
40. Hmm.
Yeah, for Sangakkara.
And Gilchrist average 47, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
Gilchrist
wrong.
averaged 47, and he had a very good strike rate as well. Scored double hundreds batting at 7.
So I think between Adam Gilchrist, for me, Sangakkara doesn't make the cut now.
Okay.
The reason for that is we are looking at someone to bat at number 7.
Yes.
and I don't think Sangakkara will be the same impactful player at number 7. So for me, it will be either Gilchrist or AB de Villiers.
I would go with Gilchrist as well. AB de Villiers is probably my favorite cricketer after Sachin Tendulkar ever. But I would go with Gilchrist for the very reason that de Villiers is a better batsman, but I don't see how he would keep to Warren with that much. He would probably do it. He can pull it off. But Gilchrist has been the trend setter for keeper batsmen in the last 20
Mhm.
years. He's the one who everybody followed him. Dickok followed him. Then we have people like Dhoni, Boucher. All these people, they came after Gilchrist. So my vote would also go to Gilchrist, uh, with a very sad goodbye to De Villiers. But I've done that many times already when he retired from international career. So I wouldn't mind saying another goodbye to him with this team. Adityan, who would be your pick out of these three?
Yeah, meaning Gilchrist also makes sense because meaning the same way we said number three deserves a specialist number three. I think number seven, you also have to pretty much bat with the tail. And
Okay.
meaning if you're Sangakkara, you just squawk in and then you're batting with Muralidharan instead
Mm.
of having faced 300 balls before batting with him. Right? That might.
Okay. So we'll put Gilchrist at 7. I think it makes the team also look really complete. We don't want just a batsman keeper batting at 7.
Yeah.
Sangakkara kept wickets and he batted at 3. And Sri Lanka didn't really have a proper keeper. When they had a proper keeper, Sangakkara stopped keeping. They had Prasanna Jayawardene and all these guys.
Mm.
Whereas Gilchrist did the job from 1996-ish to all the way till 2008-9. Did a very good job.
No, but did we actually do justice to Mark Boucher by getting AB de Villiers? Because
No,
AB de
not
Villiers
really.
also had to give up his gloves
Yes, yes.
because of his back problems, right?
I feel Boucher deserves a mention here. He has the most dismissals for any wicketkeeper in history of Test cricket, close to what 500, 600 dismissals. Did a very good job. The only reason we replaced him, I feel, is because his batting was no comparison at all. We would compromise a little on De Villiers' keeping because of his
Yeah.
60. Yeah,
Yeah. I think from, so you are not losing much in terms of keeping, but you are gaining a lot in terms of batting by going for someone like AB de Villiers or Adam Gilchrist. I think, yeah, I agree that Adam Gilchrist is a good fit,
in
mm,
the
in at the place that we are looking at, and he has done it all his career at number 7. So we'll go with that.
and he has kept a lot more than De Villiers. De Villiers had kept only for 40 innings in his whole life.
Hmm.
Gilchrist has done it for close to 150 innings
Yeah.
above. And, not too much of difference in terms of batting at 7. We can go with either one. And to save a test match, we have enough players. We don't need De Villiers' blocking ability in them.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No, but De Villiers had one very sad phase in his career, right? Like he had taken a sabbatical from
sabbatical
Test
in
because he had
2017.
all his problems, and
Yes,
then he came back, and the first batch he came back, he had to be the captain and had to keep because of injuries in the team. So.
yeah, yes. He did a good job against India and Australia in the last two series that he played in his life. I feel he should have played 3 more years and he would have been rank 1 in both Test and ODI. Maybe not in Test, but in ODI at least. Okay, so looks like there is some clarity. We can go with Ponting or Dravid or Smith later. Maybe I feel we will go with Ponting as a captain eventually, but we can have that formal discussion later. Now we will finish off this team by picking our fast bowlers and spinners. I feel since we have Callis at 6 who can bowl 130, 135 bowling, we are okay to go with both Warren and Murli. We can afford
No,
that.
I will think in this way. So we will have Vaughan and Murli, and one of the spinners get replaced with a fast bowler depending on where we are playing.
Okay, okay, sure.
Mhm.
That's a very, very wise point. Yeah, if we are playing anywhere other than England, it's okay to have the two spinners. Even in Australia, it's possible to play two spinners. I feel on those
Yeah,
deeper ground.
definitely at Sydney, I would play
Yes,
both of them
both of
for
them.
sure.
And we have to also go by their impact. I think Murli, for example, if we are comparing him with, let's say, Alan Donald. So Alan Donald is a good fast bowler, but even on a pitch that is not that much of a turner, I feel Murli Dharan would have an equal impact as Donald. Murli has done a really good job all over the world. So same with Shane Warne.
And yeah, meaning Murali also had this off-field impact too, right? Meaning he has
Yeah,
just been the gel holding together, holding the Sri Lankan attack together. I don't know
yeah,
how many people can do that.
yeah.
Whereas Shane
Yeah.
Warne has had problem with his team, so.
Definitely, he had but again, I think we'll have both of these in the team. But I would, if we had to choose one, I would go with Warren because I felt he bowled in England and
Hmm.
Australia a lot more. Whereas
Mhm.
Murali bowled against Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan in that area too much. He didn't have a great record against the Aussies. But again, that doesn't really, he didn't play enough, so we cannot judge. But for some reason, in any cricketing conversation that I've heard, maybe it's Richie Bernard or Ian Chappell or Mark Nicholas and all of these guys, they just prefer Shane Warne as the guy who changed the leg spin, the art of spin bowling in the 90s, which didn't exist after, I think, who was the last leg spinner before that, before Shane Warne? It was maybe
Abdul Qadir.
Abdul
Yeah.
Qadir was, yeah, in the 70s. So after that, anyway, maybe we can have both of them in the team, right? That's should not be an issue.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but meaning if I want to look at my paces, right? Like I would actually want to pick a more balanced pace attack. But meaning I love paces. That's a personal bias, though.
Okay.
So as I
Maybe.
said, so two spinners with the starting 11, but the 12th man will be a fast bowler who can
Okay.
replace one of the spinners depending on the conditions.
Conditions.
Sure. And when that time comes, who would be the spinner who will be replacing? Maybe we can discuss that later. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have to pick two fast bowlers here. Any names here who you want to eliminate straight away, who you feel will not make the final discussion?
For me, the way I am thinking is Glenn McGrath and Courtney Walsh are similar.
Okay.
So between the two, I would go for Glenn McGrath.
Okay. Should I remove Courtney Walsh from the discussion? Adityan, do you feel we can get rid of?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it like this, right? Like one bowler who bowls those irritating line lengths or that swing kind of bowler, and the other is the enforcer who
Okay.
bowls pace, heat, and things like
James
that.
Anderson, again, maximum wickets, but we know that all of that has come in England. So he doesn't have a very good overseas record.
Yeah,
So
I think I agree that
he might not
given
make the final team, I think. I don't think
Yeah.
one of the two picks would be Anderson.
Again, when I look at Glenn McGrath and Sean Pollock, they both are similar in terms of the way they approached bowling,
Okay.
in terms of pace, line length, and etc. And therefore, for me, McGrath would
Sure.
triumph against Sean Pollock, although Pollock is a way better batsman than McGrath. But
Yeah.
given the batting strength that we already have, I don't think batting is going to make a big difference to a selection of a bowler in the team.
Okay.
And again, I think Glenn McGrath would be a pick above Sean Pollock when it comes to looking at both of them.
So one thing I would want to say, out of all these six players, Dale Steyn has the best strike rate by far. He's a strike rate of 41 for the most part of his career, and that happens to be the best strike rate in history of Test cricket. No other bowler has a better than that. Curtly Ambrose has the best average, which is 20.9. So Wasim Akram's average is 23, McGrath is 21, Steyn is 22, Ambrose is close to 21, Donald is 21, 22, Waqar Younis is also 23. But Akram and Younis, again, they bowled in subcontinent conditions, which doesn't really favor swing bowling to that extent, but they were able to extract a reverse swing. Any automatic pick from these six? Any one name who we can quickly decide?
No, but can we put them into two sets? Like we are looking at McGrath or so we are looking at McGrath, but another name which I probably was missing here is Broad. I don't know. I don't remember his performances on overseas conditions on the back of my head.
There's a huge difference. The average is above 40 in Australia, so something like that. So he bowls really well in England. But my personal choice from these six would be Akram and Steyn. But it's again open for discussion. And McGrath is not too easy. Ambrose, Akram and Younis, but I don't think both of them will make it. They're very similar. You can choose only one of those.
No, but if you're looking at the irritating line length bowler, right? Meaning Akram is slower than Steyn, Ambrose, and Younis, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. He's slower.
So we put Akram and McGrath on one bracket and the other four on in the rest.
Okay.
And one from this and one from the other.
Okay.
Probably.
So my only argument for Wasim Akram is the variety that he has. I think he can bowl 6 different balls in the same over, and as Raghav mentioned, the conditions in which he bowled were not favorable always for the fast bowlers, but the impact that he had on the game. So for me, between Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis, it would be Wasim Akram.
Yes.
And Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis are kind of similar in terms of what they did in terms of swing. But I think that Wasim Akram was much more versatile than Wakkar Yunus in terms
Uh,
of what could do.
and another thing about Akram is in the 90s, he was on a different league. The thing what happened is towards the end of his career, he tapered off in the last
Hmm.
4 years. But if you look at the period from 92, 90, yeah, around 92 to 98, he
Hmm.
averaged 20 with the ball.
Yeah,
20,
he is a
20.
terrific player. I think
All,
for me it would be Wasim Akram and Glenn McGrath.
oh, okay, so both Akram and McGrath. Okay, that's interesting. Uh,
Uh-huh.
what about Ambrose? Average of 20. But again, he's like Philander. He's a better version of Vernon Philander with a little more pace. His strike rate would be very, like it was 56, 57. Uh, Stein is more like a strike bowler, but Ambrose would be more economical. But again, in that era, the economy rates were lower than in this era. So
Yeah,
nowadays,
No,
I
but in
think.
tests, did it really matter though? I
Yeah.
mean, I
no,
don't
it
know.
doesn't matter. I think wicket taking ability matters more than controlling in Test cricket. You would rather have a guy who bowls at 3.5 economy and gives you a 5 wicket haul
Mm-hmm.
than
Mm-hmm.
somebody who bowls at a 2.5 economy and just gives you 1 wicket. So
Hmm.
between Stein and Donald, would Stein be a better pick?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think yes.
Probably. And
so I think it's these four. Yeah, it's very difficult to choose between
I'm
Stein.
I don't know. So
slightly
if
inclined to even eliminate Curtly Ambrose.
Okay, okay. Yeah, penetrating ability was there, but again, I think he's more of a line and length controlling bowler who McGrath is also. So if we have to choose between McGrath and Ambrose, Adityan, would you
Yeah.
agree that Ambrose will be eliminated from this?
right, and meaning my knowledge of Ambrose is just a hearsay. Probably I was not even born when he was on his prime.
Okay, so it's these three.
Yes. So meaning if you're playing two spinners, I'll go with one of Akram McGrath and Stein. And if you're
Okay,
playing three paces, like all three would go in.
okay.
Mhm.
So if we are playing two spinners, you would have Stein in your team and choose between McGrath and Akram.
Yeah, because I always want one enforcer who generates heat.
Okay.
Because meaning at times, what can happen is you don't want that irritating wagging tail and all, right? You just want enforcer to get done with that and
Let's see Stein's record in other countries. I know that he has a good record in Asia. I think he has the highest wickets for any visiting fast bowler in Asia. But
Mhm.
I don't know how he has done in against different oppositions. So against Australia, he's having an average of 27. Against India, it's 21. New Zealand 16. Sri Lanka 27. Pakistan 23. Not bad. The only opposition is not done well against is England, where he averages 31.
Hmm.
Whereas McGrath, I think, has
And
probably done really well against England. Yes.
So again, another point is who was Dale Steyn bowling to when at his peak?
Sachin, Sehwag,
so
Dravid.
Which I mean, I would say that McGrath was bowling to a more lethal Tendulkar than Dale Steyn was.
Yes, that's probably true. That's
Wasim Akram was bowling to a lethal Brian Lara, Sachin Tendulkar,
Ricky Ponting.
maybe Ricky Ponting, not that because 92 to 98 Ricky Ponting was not that strong.
If we
Uh,
do the peer
no.
logic, which Adityan did, when we talked about Steve Smith, in this entire era, in the
Mhm.
last 15 years, let's say from 2005 to 2020, there has been no bowler who has averaged below 25
mhm, mhm,
other than Stein, and there has been no bowler who has had a strike rate below 50 except
mm,
Rabada, but he has played only, I think, 1/5
yeah.
of the games of Stein or 1/4 of the games of Stein. So in terms of peers, Stein is head and shoulders above. But again, that doesn't mean anything. Maybe the fast bowling quality is very low nowadays, as
Mm,
compared to the 90s. We had a lot more good bowlers in the 90s.
mm,
But if we look at
No,
pace,
but I don't know.
hmm,
It's like a magical figure, right? The strike rate of 20. Meaning,
40, 40, 41. You mean
oh,
average
sorry.
of 20.
Wait, I
yeah,
got the average
average
of
of
20.
22 and a strike rate of 41. Yeah, it's the
Hmm.
best in history of Test cricket. Wasim Akram's strike rate is 50s. McGrath is, I think, 48, 49. But again, we don't know who it was against. Uh, it, Although it's really standing out, Kagis or Rabada's statistics will also look similar if he goes the way he's going now. That doesn't mean he's as good as Akram. So I mean, I don't want
No, no,
to
with the big sample size, right?
big
Your
sample
talent
size.
would
Yeah,
stand out.
he did a good job
And
against
meaning at
the
least
yeah
no, no, at least Steve Smith is at the middle of his career and he has played what 50 innings at four. You can say that, but
yeah.
Stein, his
Stein
career
played
is
close
over.
to 100 Test matches. Yes, yes.
Huh.
He was ranked one for 8 years of his life.
Uh-huh.
6 to 7, 8 years. Yeah, but again, that's because we don't have any good. Who is the good bowler in the world right now who could compare to Stein? No one. There was a point of time where there was Johnson, but no one else. Whereas in Akram's and McGrath's time period, every team had
Mm.
very good bowlers.
And
No,
it's
meaning
not one
now
bowler,
almost
one,
every
two
bowler is like
bowlers.
on. No, no, sorry, I didn't get that.
So I'm saying that it's not just one bowler every team had. They had at least two bowlers that were really good.
Hmm.
So you think of South Africa, they had Pollock and Donald.
Yes.
If you think of Australia, they had McGrath, Gillespie, Vaughan. If you
Hmm.
think of Sri Lanka, they had Chamindavas and Murlidhar.
Yes.
Only weak bowling team was India. I mean,
Yes.
you had
Hmm.
Kumble, but
And
uh,
Singh,
Kum-
right?
Kumble was not a, a huge match winner outside India.
Yes. Yes.
And we had Srinath, but that's it. I mean, Srinath was not the same as Wasim Akram. Srinath is not the same as Glenn McGrath, right?
Hmm.
The
No, but
one.
another thing
Hmm.
is, if you're actually comparing these people with the bowlers now, almost every team has a pace bowling unit which is just coming up. Australia has Stark and Pat Cummins who have at least 8 more years of cricket left in them.
Yes.
South Africa has like uh, Rabada and
Rabada,
wait, there's
Nigiri,
this.
and
Huh,
yeah.
yeah,
The
there is this another nice guy in Test. So I don't remember his name.
this
Mm,
guy. You mean
not
Nokia?
Nakia.
Fab.
Not Nokia.
But yeah, but everyone's young. Only England has Broad and Anderson, but they are like at most 4 more years.
Yeah.
Right, but Anderson and Broad have played for so many years now. If you
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
of someone like Morny Morkel,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
who was a regular bowler with Stain,
Hmm.
but he did not have that long a career. So I'm looking at people who were a part of the team and they had an impact for a substantial period of time
Hmm.
in their team.
Yeah.
And in 90s, if you see, the bowling was had that kind of a longevity in terms of like two bowlers
Hmm.
having an impact in the team for a substantial period of time. Think of Murli and Vas.
Yes.
Hmm.
They so there is no such combination in every team
No.
in the 2010s to 2020s is the point I'm making.
So the argument for that would be that Wasim Akram and McGrath had other bowlers to back them, whereas Stein, for the most part of his career, was
That's
single-handedly
true.
leading South Africa to victories. One
That's
end,
true.
the other end, you
That's
would
true.
have Morkel and I don't know Tahir and
That's true.
that is there. But again, that doesn't really mean that Akram and McGrath were not good. It's not their fault that there are other bowlers. They would probably have done the
No,
same thing.
so the only thing that goes against Adityan's argument of comparing them with the contemporaries
Huh.
is that their contemporaries are not as good as the contemporaries that Wasim Akram had. So
Yes.
automatically the gap will be smaller. So
Yes.
just looking at the gap of Dale Steyn. So Dale Steyn is in the league of Wasim Akram and Glenn McGrath,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But Wasim Akram and Glenn McGrath also had some other bowlers which were in the list which we just eliminated.
Yes. 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 Yes.
But no one else other than Dale Steyn could make that list. So
Yes.
obviously there was a huge gap
Yeah.
with Dale Steyn and the other contemporary bowlers that we are looking at.
Hmm.
But that gap for Wasim Akram and Glenn McGrath is smaller because there were many more great bowlers
Yes.
in that era.
That's true.
No, no,
Stains.
but another factor is, like you look at Tendulkar, Lara, and Dravid, like because they all retired, or meaning leave Lara, but because Ponting, Tendulkar, Dravid all retired like from 11 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like the middle order of lots of teams like kind of opened up in the last 6-7 years,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
because like it's just 6-7 years for which the middle order of lots of team has opened up, meaning there is absolutely no way you can make another Tendulkar in 6-7 years in terms of the magnitude of runs. It
Yes.
takes
Mm-hmm.
at least 15 more years for someone to match, cross 10,000 or 12,000 runs.
Yes, yes.
But one
So
thing,
so
if you observe, I mean, it's just a side note, is that there is less variation in terms of the bowlers
Hmm.
who would make it to the 1990 to 2020 ODI team
Yes,
and the test team. So there is less variation in the bowlers,
it's the
but there is
same.
a huge variation in the batsmen.
Oh, if we just look at the batting. Oh, sorry. This was what we discussed with two of my friends. We picked this team last week, and this was the
mhm.
team that we chose for the ODI team. So if you see Akram, Warren, and Murli are probably the three same guys who will be in our test team. We don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
none of these
Yeah,
people are in the ODI in the test team except for Sachin and maybe Ponting. None of these guys are in the team. Rohit Sharma,
yeah,
Kohli, De Villiers, Dhoni, Klusner. So yeah, the
yeah.
bowling has not changed too much. Okay, guys, I have one more stat for you. Stain averages 21 in India in the
Uh-huh.
subcontinent, uh, and that is the best average for a fast bowler in India.
So when did Stain retire?
He retired last year. But he stopped bowling after 2015. He didn't bowl too much after 2015.
Yeah, I mean he was having
Okay.
one injury
He
after
was
the
injuries.
after the
He
other.
retired last year, or maybe in last year he retired last year. His peak
Mhm.
was
So
from
okay.
2008 to 2014. Yes.
So this is how I would be thinking. So I would go for McGrath and Akram. I
Okay.
would I would have Dale Steyn as a 12th man,
Okay.
and depending on the conditions, either Muralidharan or Shane Warne will be replaced by Dale Steyn, and I
Okay.
would replace Muralidharan with Dale Steyn if it
Okay.
comes down to picking between Shane Warne and Murli.
Sure. I would go with Wasim Akram and Stain with Megrath as my 12th man, and I would replace Megrath with Muralidharan again. So, Adityan, what would be your pick?
Meaning like for me, Stain would play simply because Callis is also the on the slower side. He's not the heat bowler. I want one heat bowler in my squad as a captain.
Okay.
And but also
Yeah.
there is meaning I love Murali because like, I've been telling this story over time. I have this guilty feeling of starting starting to follow cricket in 2011, and the only match which I've seen Murali bowl is 2011. So
Okay.
anytime I have anything to do with Murali, it's Murali for me.
So, who would you pick between Akram and Megrath?
Megra probably.
Okay. So, this
Because
is
he's that irritating line bowler for me.
we
So
have I chose Akram and Stain. Sir chose Akram and Megrath, and
uh-huh.
Adityan chose Megrath and Stain. So, we have two votes for each of these guys.
Mhm.
Uh,
So wait, I have a very funny question here. So we say subcontinental conditions bowling pace is very hard, but Pakistan was it has been producing pacer after
yes.
pacer, and
Yeah.
it's not done yet. Like even now we have Ahab Riaz and
Yeah. And
Amir and a lot of those people.
yeah.
So maybe it's just a
Myth.
a stereotype that we have in our mind when it comes to. And you look at this IPL in UAE, we just have one spinner in the top five wicket takers, and the rest have all been fast bowlers.
So, what
So
do we
for
do? We have
me,
two votes for each.
Wasim Akram, I would go for Wasim Akram because there is no Pakistani in the team, and I would, uh, and it's not that Wasim Akram is lesser of a bowler. I mean, if it comes down to coin toss, I
Hmm.
would I would be slightly inclined to give Wasim Akram the vote because there is no representative from Pakistan.
Mhm.
So we
No,
have
one thing
two.
that can go for him is he can bat. So there is that.
Yeah, he can bat as well. Yeah.
So we do we. So Adityan, you change your. So who would be the two now? We have two votes for each bowler. We need somebody to get three votes, and then that guy comes into the team.
Okay, like probably I'll give my first one for Stain
Okay.
because I know like all the fight will go for those two. So I'll try to push Stain in first.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I will also go for Stain and Stain.
Stain and Akram.
Yeah, Stain and Akram Meghrath as the 12th
Okay,
man.
Adityan, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I think Wasim Akram is a legend, right? And
Okay,
he
so
deserves his
Akram
credits.
was there initially. Oh, so not this one. Akram was the name I had written at 8, but I knew that we'd
Hmm.
have a discussion on him before we agree on him. So
Hmm.
okay, so let me do this. Now, Megrath is the 12th man, but who will he replace? Is it Warren or Murli? I would replace him with Murli,
I will also replace him with Murli.
but Adityan would replace him with Warren.
Yeah,
Okay,
meaning Murali has this ability to just bring the team together and
I agree.
meaning
So
you
we just
remember
put
what
him as
happened in '97.
we'll put him as a 12th man. We can replace him with whoever. That's okay. We don't have to come on consensus with that, because maybe it's okay to just play these 4 bowlers. We might not need a situation where we need a medium pacer to replace a off spinner or a leg spinner. So now that
And mind you, we have 3 fast bowlers. In fact, I mean, Callis is also there. So
Callis is also there, yes. And Steyn and
No,
Akram
on
both
the same
bowl.
logic, Tendulkar bowls his spin, but
yeah,
No, Callis bowls more than Tendulkar. So
uh,
we can also
I
open
mean,
the bowling with Murli. That's also possible. He has done that.
mhm.
we will not need. I mean,
So we have
Akram
Steyn
and
who
Steyn and
bowls outswing. We have Akram who bowls left
everything.
arm, everything. Callis who bowls medium pace and bounce bowling. We have a leg spinner and we have an off spinner. It's a
Yeah.
proper bowling attack. Okay, the last thing to decide on, who would we choose between these three? I would be
Oh,
okay with
that's-
Steve Smith at 3, but I'm okay to go with Ponting. So my pick would be Smith versus Ponting is my toss-up for this position.
For me, it is the toss-up between Ponting and Dravid. For me, Smith is still like, if we are looking at 5 years down the line and then doing this discussion, I would bring in Smith
So
in the discussion
I'll
as
just
well.
so I'll go by a very unorthodox logic, which is how. So this is the logic why I rate De Villiers and Steve Smith above, let's say, somebody like Ponting and Richards from a previous generation. So I go based on what I saw. Now I see Smith batting, and I imagine how he would bat against Akram or against Murli, or I see De Villiers batting when he's going nuts. I see how he would bat if there was Bretley bowling to him, or if there was anyone bowling to him. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do well, because I don't see any flaw in their technique. For example, Virat Kohli, I can kind of imagine McGrath or Akram keeping a 4th slip and bowling outside the off stump line with a away swinger and getting him nicked. But I don't know what Steve Smith would not do in a previous era, which Ricky Ponting has done. But again, that's just a.
No,
I will
and
counter that by saying I would think the other way around. What will Ponting do if Ponting is facing the current set of bowlers? Maybe he will do much better than what he has already achieved, given the set
I don't
of
know, but
bowlers.
averaging 74 is just ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
Meaning
that's
that's
true.
just
That
one
is
number.
true.
That's
No, I completely agree. I completely agree.
Steve Smith averages 80 plus against India. And most of those games have come in India. He has
Yeah,
had a century
yeah,
at Pune, where it was probably the hardest pitch to bat on in terms of rank turner. I'm just giving him a lot of condolences. What's that? Yeah, because I don't think he might make the team, but it's really.
No,
So
it's a
no,
hard. It's a
and
I mean,
no, and
think even Dravid may not make the team.
Dravid Manot, yes.
So,
But I feel Dravid and Ponting are in the same era, so we can compare them. But I just
yeah.
feel Smith is unfortunate because he's in this modern era. So no matter what he does, we can always say that, oh, he didn't face a better bowling attack or a condition. It's like Virat Kohli in ODI. Even if he averages 70, we'll say the Sachin Tendulkar faced other players. But I don't know. So do we go with the Ponting, or do we
no,
go
but
with.
one thing which might go for Smith is right, like he's so unorthodox that the opposition captain might have a headache setting fields for him.
But guys, if
Meaning,
we go
but
with Steve Smith, who will be the captain? We don't have any captain in this team. Then Alistair Cook will
No,
be
Cook,
we have Lara, Akram.
Lara,
Akram, Lara, Cook. Yeah, but
and Smith was a captain too.
Smith was
But
a captain
yeah.
too. But Ponting has made a team and they won 15 consecutive Test matches. They had a good team, but still he was a terrific leader, and he can lead
No, no, like I
anybody.
think Potting's brilliance was seen the last IPL, meaning it was his team. Delhi was his
Oh
team, not
yeah,
Ayers.
yeah. It's not IS.
I think I'll go for Ricky Ponting here.
Okay, I would toss up between Ponting and Smith. I'm okay with either one of them. So what would Adityan's pick be? Adityan would go with Smith.
Yeah, meaning Smith. And if it's a toss up, actually, I'll prefer Dravid over Smith because I think there's a lot of X factor in our team that we need a wall.
Oh, but okay, so Ponting is not in your. My pick out of these three would be Ponting.
No, meaning if our number 4 was not Sachin Tendulkar has this buzz about him, the way he scores and all, right. If it has been a more, very traditional player who scores at a way lower strike rate, then Ponting would go ahead of me, ahead of Dravid for me. But Tendulkar can play aggressively when he wants to. Lara can, Callis can, Gilchrist can. I need one player who can keep blocking and blocking.
But
That's his natural.
all of these guys can block. I'm sure Tendulkar, Callis can block, right? Callis can bat at 3 if you want him to block. He can bat a whole day.
No, I mean, like, given this lineup, right? Like, we are tossing up between Ponting and Dravid. And given we have all the X factor coming out in our lineup, that's
If
my
we'll pick
argument. But
Dravid, we'll have Sehwag, Dravid, and Tendulkar. 2, 3, 4 in our world 11. We'll not have a single Australian in the top 6, but they were the best team, and their captain will miss out.
Mhm.
Uh, okay.
I will go for Ponting, and I will
Okay.
put Dravid as another 12th man, like
Okay.
in the
We
squad.
can have a squad. Okay, let's go with we can have a squad of 15, so we can have 4 other substitute players. My pick would also be Ponting. Adityan, what's your final thoughts on this?
Okay, fine. Like, meaning,
Are you okay
I
with
can't
Ponting?
object to Ponting. He's a star. Yeah, he's a superstar. Come on. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just go by majority.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
we'll
again,
put Ponting as the captain as well.
yeah, that's an automatic pick.
And that's the easiest pick.
This looks really like a terrific lineup. I know there's not too much of blocking, but just think about Ponting, Tendulkar, Lara at 3, 4, 5. Any attack in the world, they'll be able to dominate.
I don't know. Like, if this happens, right? We like this team might score 700 in the first innings, take the opposition team out for 50 twice, and then win the match with an innings and 600 runs to spare.
Without needing to block.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let us just put our substitute players and then we can finish our discussion. I would watch. We have Rahul Dravid.
Definitely Rahul Dravid.
Do we need? So we need a fast bowler. We have Megrath. We don't need.
I will go for AB de Villiers.
For
Just
So wait,
in
why
case.
doesn't Smith come on top of? I mean, Smith can bat at 5. He has an average 6 at 5. Oh, sorry, 60 at 5.
I just said the AB de Villiers just to have a backup wicket keeper.
Oh, sorry. Right. Uh-huh.
Backup keeper. Okay, he can also bat. But do we leave Steve Smith out of the squad completely then?
No, that's the hardest decision you're asking me to make, right?
So do we need a backup opener? I don't think so because we can have Dravid open. So that's okay. We don't need a backup opener. We can just go based on better batsmen because our backup opener would be Hayden. And I'm sure Smith or De Villiers or even a bowler are more valuable to the team than Hayden. So do we need another fast bowler?
So we have, how much are we making? We are making 15.
We need 3 more players. We can have Ambrose because we are
We
just
need 2,
having
right?
3 more. So we have 12 plus 4. 16 member squad. We can have
16. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think we can put Ambrose because we need one backup bowler because we are only having 3 pacers in the whole squad now. So we can go with Ambrose because he was also part of our discussion until the very end.
AB de Villiers and Steve Smith.
Okay, we can go with both. So what happens to our good friend from Sri Lanka, Kumar Sangakkara, who averaged 60 at 3?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
we can
given that, as I said, if the Sangakkara is going to replace, Sangakkara will replace Adam Gilchrist. And I don't think Sangakkara will be as good a player at number 7. That's the reason why I'm going for AB de Villiers.
Okay.
Because he's aggressive and he can bat at number 7 and have an impact, which I don't quite think that Sangakkara would have. And if you will have to make Sangakkara bat at number 3 or
which
4,
will change the balance of the whole team.
Yeah, which I don't think.
And then Ponting goes to 5, and Lara goes to 6, and Callis goes to 7, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for Lara to go anywhere below 5.
No, he could probably bat at 4 as well, and Sachin can bat at 5.